in residential real estate, when you're looking at buying a home, you may be able to put 3% down, 3.5% down, 10% down, or maybe even 0% down, depending on the loan structure that you're going with. Well, in commercial, you're almost always going to be putting down somewhere between 20 and 30%, which seems very high compared to residential. Now, there are some exceptions. You can get down into the 5, 10, 15% range, and of course, you could go over 30% depending on what it is. I mean, we're looking at some hotel loans right now that, require 35% down. That's starting to change because the pandemic is coming back, but loans vary drastically in commercial real estate. You could also look at higher interest rates. Right now, I think you can finance a home with an interest rate in the high 2% range, however you want to say that, 2.95% or whatever. But in commercial real estate, you're going to be looking at almost double that. Most of the projects that we're looking at, somewhere between the 3.75 to 5.5% range. So interest rates are higher, and that is because typically commercial real estate is a riskier investment, right? You're not living there. It's not one of the last things that you will give up if you lose a job or come down on hard times. You will likely just default on that loan and walk away, especially if it's an investment. So the interest rates are higher because the bank is taking on higher risk. Loan terms are also drastically different. When you buy a home, you'll probably be able to get a 30-year mortgage, sometimes longer. When it comes to commercial real estate, though, you're going to be looking at 20 typically, and sometimes if you're very lucky and you've got a great deal, you might be able to get 25 years. Now, what I will say, there are some times where you can get 30-year mortgages in commercial real estate, but that is in a very specific set of deals, investments that are stabilized. They're, we're talking 300 unit apartment complexes, and you've got a life insurance company that just needs to park money for 30 years, and they're fine doing that with you. I will say this, there's always going to be an exception to anything I say, so don't leave me a comment saying, well, hey, you're wrong, I got a 35-year amortization on my loan term. I don't, obviously, there will be exceptions. Everything in commercial real estate is negotiable. Maybe you found a private lender that was willing to give you terms that a bank never would. I don't know your specific situation, so I will give that one caveat. Now, commercial real estate obviously has a higher barrier of entry because of that. If you're looking at $1 million property, you're gonna have to bring probably $200,000 to $300,000 down. And that is why most of our deals are syndications, right? I'm going out to investors that are not necessarily accredited. It's people that I have built up relationships with, friends and family, and I'm raising capital from them so that we can go and do all of these deals. And so because of that, the way that we structure these deals is always, it's very different. Check out this video here on real estate syndication where I kind of walk you through that process and how that looks. But unless you have a large stockpile of cash, you're likely going to need investors. Another thing that is very different with commercial real estate loans is that they'll typically only last 5 to 7 years, which is not a very long time, right? Again, if you buy a house, you'll get a 30-year mortgage, you'll have it for 30 years. But in commercial real estate, you might get a 20-year mortgage, but you can only have it for 5 years. And that is because banks like to turn over loans, right? That's just kind of how it works. So every 5 to 7 years, or again, like I said, it may be 3 years, it may be 10 years. I don't know your specific situation. You're going to have to either sell that property or refinance it.